Hey, what's green and has wheels? Caterpie, I lied about the wheels. This is a HeartGold Hardcore Nuzlocke with only green Pokemon. Hey, kind of like the title of the video you're watching. What are the odds? Did you know that the Pokemon Company officially categorizes every single Pokemon into 1 of 10 colors? Oh, you did? Well, sorry for trying to spread some knowledge. You know, knowledge, the one thing that separates us from the primitive beasts of the animal kingdom? I guess that makes me the jerk. Well, our run starts in New Barktown, where I meander over to Professor Elm's lab to receive my very first Pokemon. The choices are limited here since Cyndaquil's not green at all, and Totodile, though having a shiny that's kinda green if you squint really hard after being pepper sprayed, obviously isn't green either, so I'm forced to take the best starter, maybe of all time, Chikorita, and I name him Luigi. Now, Luigi has a mild nature, which means his physical defense stat is lowered in exchange for an increase to his special attack. Meganium's best asset is bulkiness, so this is unfortunate, but we're gonna have to make do. Taking a page from Ash Ketchum's playbook, I mean, what could go wrong with that? We add a Caterpie to our team. Baby Yoda, welcome aboard. I also pocket a Bellsprout, greener than the Amazon rainforest, anyone with eyes can see that, and I name her Poison Ivy. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, uh-oh, Flygon, these Pokemon do not look promising, especially against Falkner's flying types. Is there any way to catch some better teammates? No, there isn't. My only other encounter before the first gym is a Spinarak. I'm naming him Plankton because just like Plankton, he too is small and weak and pathetic. Like your least favorite childhood vegetable, this guy is green, not good, and makes your pee smell bad. But I should relax because at least he'll evolve in a few levels, right? Nope. Ariados is red, so Plankton cannot evolve and is forced to have the attack stat of a Spinda and the speed stat of a Sunkern for the entire game. But things will have to have gotten pretty dire if I'm still using Plankton in the late game. Anyways, Baby Yoda does get to evolve since Metapod is also green. Butterfree, though, is obviously not, so this is the end of the road for Baby Yoda, doomed to be cocooned forevermore. At the top of Sprout Tower, we've got to challenge the living pun, Elder Lee. As he opens with Bellsprout, I send in Baby Yoda. Not exactly the perfect counter since he does like a quarter of the pea shooter's HP with every tackle, but Bellsprout simply sets up some useless growths, and Vine Whips do nothing as we conquer the plant. Things get a bit awkward from here because Lee's Hoot Hoot proves to be a major threat for only the second time in the history of Hoot Hoots. With the devastating power of Peck threatening poor Baby Yoda, I've gotta get him out of there. Luigi helps out by poisoning the owl, so now we just need to survive enough turns for the opponent to collapse from the relentless pain of toxins streaming through his blood. Switching into Plankton for an extra turn, we luck out when the owl elects for a Hypnosis. Then it's back to Luigi for a Razor Leaf as we risk a critical hit from Peck and survive. With Hoot Hoot at death's door, it's back to Poison Ivy as I anticipate his final blow. Another Hypnosis. Nice. And though I wish that was the end of this grueling fight, Elder Lee pulls out his secret ace. A second Bellsprout. With that, we can now challenge the first gym leader, Falkner. The problem? Well, for starters, Elder Lee just gave me the TM for Flash, which would be a great move to use here if both of Falkner's Pokemon didn't have the ability Keen Eye. Why would he give this to me right now? It makes no sense. But also, and maybe more importantly than the whole Flash thing, is that my team is beans. The whole team is just beans. We're cooked, guys. Cooked beans. Sometimes when there's trouble, the only thing you can do is keep your head down and go to work, so damn it, that's what I do. I bring my baby beans to the mines, where Luigi beats the snot out of little Caterpies for their HP effort values. This ensures that our squad is as bulky as possible come gym time, and I even swap my team around mid-battle to spread the XP, thereby giving my Pokemon the most opportunities to gain those precious EVs before hitting the level cap. And after a while, I make a stunning discovery. My Pokemon have Pokerus. Plankton, you dirty dog, is that where you've been running off to at night? Fun fact, the odds of finding Pokerus on any given encounter are 1 in 21,845. Nearly triple the standard odds of finding a shiny. And as soon as one of your Pokemon gets the Rus, you can be damn sure the rest of your team is getting it as well. That thing spreads like butter on bread, but specifically room temperature butter, or like the Land O'Lakes buttery spread that's not actually butter but is specifically designed designed to be spread and doesn't like clump up and destroy your toast. And the effect of this rare disease is that it doubles the amount of EVs your Pokemon get from any battle and gives them moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, but that's nothing a bit of Skyrizzy can't handle. EV training, which here I do manually for some reason, not that there's any other way to do it on a very real Nintendo DS, does take a long time. Though fortunately, I can do it in comfort thanks to the C7 Max from the sponsor of this video, FlexiSpot. I've been using my FlexiSpot chair for a few weeks now and have absolutely loved it. Back in the day, I was using nothing at all, which was great for my quads, but not so great for my work productivity. Now with the C7M, I've never been more relaxed while toiling away in the grasses of Route 30. Gah! If only there was a faster, easier way. The C7M is just about as customizable as a chair can be. You can adjust the chair height, the seat depth, as well as the head, back, and armrest to perfectly match your personal preference. The C7M can also have a footrest, which is perfect for lounging around, and special lumbar support designed to target the lower spine. As someone who has pretty consistent back soreness, I've really liked how it feels when I'm stuck in front of a computer for hours. What? I don't know. I feel like I usually say something here. Since this is an honest review, I will say that the seat cushion is a little stiff, which I personally haven't had a huge problem with, but others might prefer the foam option instead. And fair warning, you will need to construct the chair yourself, though I found all the instructions were extremely easy to follow and the process was surprisingly simple. The good news is that FlexiSpot offers a 10-year warranty and a 30-day return policy for a risk-free trial. So there's no reason not to use the link in the description down below and my code C750 to get $50 off your purchase. Alternatively, you can consider the C5 chair if you're on a budget, or the recently launched C7 Morpher featuring a complete upgrade to the lumbar support and upper backrest. Ooh, fancy. Thanks so much to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the challenge. With our entire team juiced up on HP EVs and finally at the level cap, it's time for our fight against Falkner. Now, am I a little intimidated by this team? Sure, but with Luigi leading the charge, anything is possible. Falkner's opening Pidgey isn't a worry, as Poison Powder slowly drains the bird moveless foe. I pivot through Plankton, then Poison Ivy, then to Baby Yoda, and wouldn't you know it, Pidgey misses tackles anyways. Not just once, but twice. The 1 in 400 occurrence puts us in the driver's seat as Pidgey falls and critically brings all of my Pokemon up to level 14 as we prepare to face off against the little bird's big brother. With Baby Yoda on the field, he starts by firing off a string shot to lower the ace's speed. A second one ensures that everyone will be faster, and then I make a harsh, maybe even cruel decision. I need Luigi to come in unscathed. Baby Yoda can't evolve, and he can't even learn a new move, so sadly, it's time for the green shell to go. Pidgeotto's gusts rip through our little guy like a poorly built Kansas farmhouse. But because of Baby Yoda's valiant sacrifice, Luigi can poison the bird, get off bits of damage with Razor Leaf, and use Synthesis to stall out our foe. And so, as Pidgeotto comes down to his final bit of HP, I'm forced to make a decision. Do I Razor Leaf and risk the 1 in 20 miss chance? Do I Synthesis and risk the 1 in 32 gust into crit chance? Or do I swap to one of my other teammates, also risking a critical hit on them, but more dangerously giving Falkner the chance to use Roost? To me, the choice is clear. We risk the chance of a double bug funeral by switching to Plankton, but as luck would have it, Pidgeotto merely goes for a tackle, thereby sparing Plankton's life. Surely the fates have decided to save him for a greater purpose. Surely. As our battle against Falkner comes to an end, Baby Yoda evolves. Like a phoenix from the ashes, our dead bug spreads his wings, coming back to life as Baby Yoda the White. Alas, we're going down a path he simply cannot follow. And with a singular manly tear, I say my farewell. Bye-bye, Butterfree. And hello, Hoppip. No, I can't use the pink turnip quite yet, as she doesn't become green until she evolves into Skip Plume, but she still counts as an encounter. Read the fine print. Also, while training our defenses up against Dark Cave's population of Geodudes, Luigi evolves into a Bayleaf, who still counts as green somehow. Bayleaf can also learn Rock Smash, which I use to snag some shards. More specifically, ones of the yellow variety, which this guy in Violet City lets us cash in for a bunch of yellow berries, including both an Asper Berry and a Citrus Berry. But with no new encounters in this split, there's only one thing for us to do: take down Bugsy. Leading with his own green teammate, Bugsy starts by setting up a focused energy against Poison Ivy, who thankfully connects with a poison powder. Next, I send in Plankton to eat a resisted U-turn that sends Scyther out and brings in Metapod, resulting in a heated battle to determine whose bug is less bad. Plankton and Metapod go band for band in a death match rivaled only by Rocky and Gary the Snail. Ultimately, I bring in Luigi to take the kills so that as Scyther comes back in and sets up with focused energy, I can safely lower the beast's attack with Growl. Then, anticipating a U-turn, I switch back to Plankton, though since Scyther opts for a Leer, I swap out to Poison Ivy. And with repeated switches, Bugsy's overpowered ace continues to slowly lose health as I do my best to avoid putting anyone in a position where a poorly timed critical hit would result in a second death. Eventually, Scyther U-turns into Kakuna, and boy does this guy stink. Do you know how bad you have to be to lose a 1v1 to Plankton the Spinnerack? Poison Sting does basically no damage, and what little it does is recovered by our 20 base power leech lives. As the Itsy Bitsy Spider gets his first kill, Scyther takes the floor with nowhere to go. She rips a quick attack, but it's not enough to bring Plankton to his knees. Spiders have knees, right? Hey, wait, why does Spinnerack only have 6 legs? Alright, well, despite being fake as Plankton takes out Scyther with a Nightshade, indisputably proving to be the better bug and winning us our second gym badge. So now the new level cap means that Fiona can evolve and join the team. Yay! In Ilex Forest, we add yet another grass type to the roster, though like Hoppip before him, Mike Wazowski the Oddish isn't green. But he will be soon, and then... Then we'll really be cooking with gas. Ah, Goldenrod City, the city of gold. And rods. I don't know what that means. But just north of here lies the National Park, home to one of Pokemon's classic in-game events, the Bug Catching Contest. By participating, we're eligible to catch buckets of Pokemon, including the not green Weedle, the also not green Beedrill, the very not green Pinsir, and the already caught and killed Caterpie, RIP. But hidden in all of this rubbish is one of the strongest Pokemon we'll be able to add to the team during this playthrough. Bugsy's finest, welcome to the squad. And thank you for the Sunstone, King of the Bug Catchers. Whitney's gym fight is next, and everyone knows about the childhood terror that is her stomp, flinch, and milk drinkin' utter floppin' Miltank. So this is always a doozy of a fight. Against Clefairy, I open with Gamora to utilize her base 110 attack stat, paired with Rock Smash and the Metronome item, which boosts the damage output of a move if used on consecutive turns. I'm hoping to fire off 2 Rock Smashes into Whitney's harmless lead so that we have a 20% damage boost going into her milk, and Clefairy's dead. She just freaking died. That is so inconvenient. As Miltank comes out, I use a second Rock Smash for some solid damage and a defense drop, but since the quad effective rollout hits Gamora for 20 HP, I decide to switch out on the following turn. Fortunately, U-turn packs a serious punch on the way out, and Luigi takes very little damage from the second turn of rollout. With a single Rock Smash, our sharpshooter takes us home, completing the easiest fight against Whitney ever. The new level cap of 25 means that Mike Wazowski can evolve into Gloom, and then I can use that Sunstone we got at the county fair to further evolve him into a Blossom, who's finally a sweet, sweet shade of green. Poison Ivy also gets an evolution, maintaining her greenness even though she is objectively a banana with a mouth. Now, we do gain access to a variety of routes around Ecruteak City, so there's definitely tons of encounters we can add to the team, right? Well, no. Best I can do is a frog. With the good rod from Olivine City, I snag a Poliwag. The problem is that he's blue, so we gotta find a cure. And short of progressive work via targeted therapy sessions aided by drugs if recommended by a licensed psychologist, the only cure to blueness is in the Pokeathlon. For those of you unfamiliar with this hellhole, the basic idea is that you send in Pokemon that are healthy and green, like Gamora here, and use them to destroy your opponents in a series of grueling and unregulated physical trials for the sake of entertaining the masses. At the end, you receive prize money that can be exchanged for all sorts of items, including but not limited to a King's Rock, which is the exact antidote to the devastating blueness that's plaguing little Piccolo the Poliwhirl. With Piccolo now a bulky surf spamming member of the team, we're ready to face off against the 4th gym leader. Morty opens with a Ghastly, who falls victim to a single wing attack from Gamora. Gengar, out next, however, manages to eat one wing attack, pop a Citrus Berry to restore a chunk of his HP, and drop Gamora's special defense with a nasty Shadow Ball. Yikes. It's a shame that Gamora doesn't have Technician, because if she did, we'd be golden. Even though it's quad resisted, Gamora's U-turn hits Gengar hard thanks to a crit, and Piccolo can eat a Shadow Ball on the switch, but now risks dying to a critical hit from here on out. Gengar's Hypnosis does connect, but our Chesto Berry abruptly brings Piccolo back from Dreamland, and then his Surf manages to land another critical hit, solidifying our victory. If I was Morty, I'd be so pissed about the back-to-back crits. His remaining 2 Haunters aren't strong enough to survive Gamora's onslaught of wing attacks, so it's not long until all of his ghosts have experienced dying for a second time, and we've won the 4th gym badge completely deathless. With the ability to now surf the high seas, and also having access to quick balls, I head back to the ruins of Alph to catch Elphaba the Natu in a single toss. From here, I make my way to the Safari Zone for our next and final green encounter. Yeah, this future pseudo-legendary... Well, you know what they say, guys. I don't know, comment an expression to make me feel better, because I've got nothing. At least we can evolve Poison Ivy into the definitely very green Victory Bell. Begrudgingly, I approach the 5th gym leader Chuck in pursuit of our next badge. This is maybe the easiest step in our journey, as Gamora rips through Primeape, and Mike uses some magically powered leaves to slice through Poliwrath like a perfectly cooked fish fillet. Thanks for the badge, dum-dum. I got places to be. Like underground, in a secret base helping a grown man take down a nationwide crime syndicate. After this remarkably unremarkable fight, Luigi finally evolves into Meganium, who, despite a glaring ice-type weakness, immediately flexes his new power against Price. Seal, the opener, succumbs to a single Petal Dance, Dewgong falters to a second, and as much as I want to risk the confusion and click Petal Dance once more, the safest play against Piloswine is to bring in the Frog and wash away the Pig. Frogs 1, Pigs 0. But look, I don't have time to dwell on that easy-peasy victory that Price just handed me on a silver plate, because Jasmine is immediately next, and her team is way hot. Nah, just kidding. Piccolo uses Diggs to Oko the Magnemites, and a Surf to Oko the Steelix. Frogs 4, Pigs 0, Magnet 0, and British Steel Snakes 0. With 7 badges now in hand, I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at. Only 1 death, and it was, what, a Metapod? Now, Clair is maybe the hardest of the Johto region's gym leaders, but I came prepared. Fiona opens for us, leveraging her Leech Seed and Synthesis to stall Gyarados on a flurry of Dragon Rages that are guaranteed to do exactly 40 HP every turn, meaning that Fiona is never in danger. And while I would love to keep her in to drain the beast of every last drop of HP, if I do that, Dragonair will come out next and threaten with either big damage from Fire Blast or a nasty paralysis from Thunder Wave. So instead, I can switch to Piccolo now, recover a bit of HP with Leech Seed, and then blitz whatever comes in next with some Ice Beams. So good night Gyarados, and hello free knockouts onto both of Claire's Dragonairs. Rhyme! By the way, the reason these guys come out in this order is that the AI thinks that they both have a super effective move in the form of Thunder Wave. Just a small little detail, but it makes this fight significantly easier. Claire's ace is Kingdra, who is one of the scariest Pokemon in all of the vanilla games. With no weaknesses outside of the Dragon type, which is super inaccessible at this point in the game, and a powerhouse moveset that keeps the pressure on alongside her sniper ability, this Kingdra is just a brute. Knowing I have no hope of ever being out of crit range, I just have to deal damage wherever I can. After unsuccessfully sending in a few of my other frailer teammates, I do what I should have done in the first place. I bring in Luigi and have him get to work. He's never let us down before. Now the hope is that instead of going for Dragon Pulses, Kingdra will opt to send a few smoke screens our way since our main attack Magical Leaf cannot miss. So with Luigi down to just 59 HP and Kingdra on the brink of fainting, I need a miracle here. I need to see a smoke screen. But Clair rips a Hyper Beam, and I know that it's all over. Our poor little Luigi, once an innocent Chikorita, then a definitely green Bayleaf, and finally a magnificent Meganium, cooled down in the prime of his life. I'm sorry, Luigi surviving a Hyper Beam from just 59 HP is ridiculous, but I shouldn't have expected anything less from the GOAT. Now, we don't get the KO in return, even with an Overgrow boost, but because Kingdra is locked into a recharge turn, Luigi's free to finish off the Seahorse and win the battle. Again, only 48 damage is insane. With 8 badges now in hand, there were still a couple loose ends around the region to take care of before we venture off to the Elite Four. The first is the back-to-backs against the Kimono Girls, and how I'm gonna play this is very simple yet tactical. By opening with Gamora, I can ensure that we outspeed all 5 of the evolutions. If Gamora has a type advantage against one of them, like she does against Umbreon, I X-Scissor for the KO. Same thing happens in the next battle against Espeon. The rest of the evolutions, however, are marginally harder, but only marginally. Against Flareon, Piccolo washes him away with a Surf. Against Jolteon, a speedy U-turn does crazy damage, and Luigi finishes him off with a Petal Dance. So last is Vaporeon, who has access to Aurora Beam. With the damage from U-turn, I'm sure one of our grass types could take the hit and easily finish him off, but letting our silly frog pick up another kill is funnier. Enjoy the death by Frog Slams, Vaporeon. The next loose end to be squared away is at the top of Bell Tower. High in the skies, I watch as the Kimono Girls dance to summon their mighty feathered god so that I may catch them. But what they fail to realize is that Ho-Oh is not green. Actually, there is a little green there. Pokemon Company, is this chicken green? No, it's not. Okay, so I don't care. I run away using Gamora's superior speed, and it's kind of awkward. Yeah, the girls just stare at me, so I'm gonna go. Oh hey, speaking of chickens, remember Elphaba the Natu that I caught and then didn't say anything about ever again? Well, now that we're at the Pokemon League, I can delay her evolution to level 47, where she learns Psychic and thus becomes an excellent counter to Bruno and Koga. Gen 4 level up movesets are so stupid. But with that, here's the 6 teammates that'll be facing off against the Pokemon League. First up, Luigi, our starter. With Growl on his final learn set, it's not hard to see why Meganium is so highly regarded amongst Pokemon fans. Second is Mike Wazowski. With the Zoom Lens and Sleep Powder, he'll have a solid chance of stopping opponents dead in their tracks if we ever get into a serious bind. Third is Gamora. If Sharp Beak boosted wing attacks aren't enough to get the KO, then she'll also be able to outspeed pretty much everything to fire off nasty U-turns for offensive momentum. Fourth is the oh-so-powerful Frog Piccolo, who's holding an XP share to get some important levels before our fight against Lance. Fifth, holding the Choice Specs, is Elphaba, who's been pre-burned for reasons that you'll soon see. Ooh, mysterious. And finally, I'm bringing Plankton with a Focus Sash. I just thought it'd be funny to champ a Spinarak. I'm gonna look incredibly silly if I lose this. But that's not gonna happen, especially if this dope Will is any indication. Gamora's Night Slash does great damage to his opening Xatu, though a Retaliatory Psychic deals a third of our HP and also drops our special defense. The good news is that Will burns a full restore as 2 more Night Slashes seal Xatu's fate. Jinx is next, so a U-turn picks up a second KO as Mike Wazowski takes the stage. This causes Will to bring in his second Xatu, who falls into a deep slumber thanks to Little Mikey's Zoom Lens Sleep Powder. That grants a free switch back to Gamora en route to another quick Night Slash KO. Will's Exeggutor comes in fourth, and that poor sap gets eviscerated by an X-Scissor. So against our foe's final Pokemon Slowbro, another U-turn does massive damage and brings in Luigi, who perfectly lines up his shot and gets the KO with a single Magical Leaf. Only 3 Elite Four members to go. Koga's next, and we're more than ready for him, as he sends out the older, worse version of Plankton, I send in Elphaba, who makes light work of the spooky spider, needing only a single psychic to send him to his grave. Our next foe is Fortress, who can absolutely explode, so I send in Piccolo, who has the ability Damp to stop the bagworm from wreaking havoc. Surf is more than enough for a 2-shot, so Muck comes in third, which means that it's time for Plankton to earn his spot on the team. The idea is that he resists Muck's only attacking move Gunk Shot, which also happens to only have 5 PP. So along with a few protects, Plankton's job is to stall. It helps that Muck misses his fair share of hits, though once one finally does connect, it only does 53 damage. Insanity! Plankton is a beast! With our foe now entirely out of Gunk Shots, I simply send in Gamora, who uses Aerial Ace to hit through the evasion boosts and bring in Crobat. Enter Elphaba, who frustratingly comes in as Crobat sets up with a double team, so we really need to land this hit or we are risking getting swept. And thankfully, Elphaba does connect with her Psychic, meaning that Koga's down to his last Pokemon, who also falls to a Psychic. Venomoth is simply not him. And neither is anyone on Bruno's team. Elphaba uses Psychic to easily defeat his lead Hitmontop, and then his Onix, and then his Hitmonchan, Machamp, and Hitmonlee. Don't worry though, because after Bruno, we have to face off against Karen, the final member of the Elite Four, and she's here to make sure we still have to think if we want to make it through to the champ. As she opens with Umbreon, I send in Gamora to X-Scissor, which deals a lot of damage but doesn't KO. Karen's decision to Confuse Ray would be pretty bad if I didn't give Gamora a Person Berry, but since I did, I can burn Karen's first full restore as 2 more X-Scissors take out Umbreon. And then just a single X-Scissor is enough to one-shot the extremely frail Murkrow. So that now brings in Houndoom. With a U-turn, Piccolo comes in on a Flamethrower, and then a Choice Scarf ensures that we get the quick KO with a Surf. And from here, things get a little silly. Vileplume is out 4th, and I really want to take her out with Elphaba so that she's primed to deal with Karen's Gengar, but I can't switch directly into Elphaba because Vileplume could paralyze us with Stun Spore. So instead, I send in Plankton, who's unintentionally become our glue guy and has already contributed far more to this run than I ever would have guessed. He sops up a Stun Spore and then also shrugs off a Petal Dance like it's nothing. Our Nightshade connects through the paralysis for a chunk of damage, which ensures that Elphaba can come in on another Petal Dance and swiftly take the KO with a Psychic. A Chain Kill on Gengar wins us the final battle of the Elite Four, and with that, the data's simply irrefutable. Plankton is a real, vital part of this team's success, but against the champion, he's got his work cut out for him. Plankton has pretty bad matchups into all of these guys. Then again, so does most of my team. The super speedy Aerodactyl and the bulky, powerful Dragonites are particularly terrifying. Not to worry though, because I have a plan. Elphaba opens against Lance's mighty Gyarados, and at long last her persistent burn is about to pay off, because she uses Psycho Shift. Now, you might not have ever seen this move before or even heard of it, but Psycho Shift instantly transfers the user's status condition onto their opponent, which means that we now have a burned Gyarados who also just so happens to whiff an Ice Fang. Nice, though we're gonna need a lot more of that if we plan on getting through this. I have Elphaba use Leer to drop the beast's defense and then go for a Wish on the next turn, which will bring us back to nearly full HP at the end of the following turn as we continue to tank nerfed Ice Fangs. Then I set up another Wish as Lance seems to have switched into using Flail. Regardless, the next step is to actually send in Plankton and tank Gyarados' final Flail, which gets fully nullified by Elphaba's second Wish. So we're at full HP as a Sucker Punch sends the defense drop Serpent to his grave. Plankton 1, Lance 0. Truly a work of art this moment is. And I wish so badly to stay in that moment, but I can't. Time moves ever forward, unconcerned with the wants and needs of our emotional lives. My plan for defeating Lance has finally come to its most critical step. Plankton baits in Aerodactyl, who can outspeed and hit my entire team for super effective damage. So my little guy's job is, and always has been, to use a Focus Sash to survive an attack from Aerodactyl and hit him with a String Shot. But Plankton doesn't even need a Focus Sash. He straight up survives a super effective Aerial Ace from Aerodactyl, which is absolutely insane and makes this next turn all the more tragic. Because in order for us to win, I need one last thing from Sweet Plankton: some chip damage with Sucker Punch. It's not a lot, but it is enough for Piccolo to now guarantee the kill with a Surf. But first, Aerodactyl rips a second Aerial Ace, and the mightiest Spinnerack to ever live finally falls. Plankton gave us a chance, so now it's time to take it. With the speed drop from String Shot and the chip damage from Sucker Punch, Piccolo, who's holding a Choice Scarf, does indeed outspeed and one-shot Aerodactyl with a Surf, which means that the first of Lance's Dragonites is next. At level 50, it's a roll for Piccolo to one-shot with Ice Beam, but because of the Choice Scarf, we first need to switch out, which means it's time for some big risks. Mike Wazowski takes the field as Lance hits him with a Thunder Wave. And look, I don't have any other play. Mike Wazowski needs to hit this Sleep Powder. Facing Flinch, Paralysis, and a miss, we need a miracle. And we get it. With Dragonite asleep, I send in Piccolo for free, who outspeeds and connects with a high roll for the instant KO. Next up is Dragonite number 2, so Ice Beam again comes out, and this time he hangs on with a sliver to get off a Thunder Wave. Lance heals with a full restore as our third Ice Beam comes out and now does indeed pick up the Oko. So suddenly our foe's final Dragonite arrives. At level 50 and with a sassy nature, this one is always surviving an Ice Beam, but since he uses Safeguard, we have a free turn to be fully paralyzed, which means that we now have to risk a critical hit Outrage for another chance at some damage. Thankfully, there's no crit, and Piccolo successfully connects with another Ice Beam, but now I'm in trouble. Nothing I have can survive an Outrage and take the KO. So what do I do? Where do I go? Gamora comes in and takes an absolute beating from another Outrage, though she does miraculously survive. Unfortunately, an Aerial Ace is definitely not doing enough damage here, so I'm screwed, right? Well, not quite. I think it's time to take a walk down memory lane. Remember how right after I defeated Falkner, I spent some time mining away for shards? Remember how I picked up some yellow ones and traded them to a man in exchange for some berries? Remember how I specifically called out the Asper and Citrus berries? Well, that, my friends, is a classic storytelling strategy called setup and payoff. Because by holding an Asper berry and using the move Natural Gift, Gamora has access to a one-time 60 base power physical ice move, which is just enough to take out Lance's strongest Dragonite, at long last winning us the battle. Oh crap, yeah, I forgot about Charizard. This is so bad for us. Because of the paralysis, Piccolo no longer outspeeds or has enough HP to deal with Lance's final Pokemon. So instead, I have to figure out a way to beat him with, not much. U-turn does a little bit of damage as I bring in Luigi, and I'm grateful to see a Dragon Claw instead of an Air Slash or a Fire Fang, though we're still in a pretty tough spot. Luigi outspeeds and even lands a Body Slam Paralysis on the very next turn. Charizard follows up by breaking through the paralysis, but missing Air Slash anyways. So I mean, if we're gonna just dodge everything, we might as well keep Body Slamming. No, that critical hit is so bad. Because now, instead of being able to switch into Elphaba and taking the kill, Lance is going to heal. As he does, I decide to go for a Synthesis, which lets me safely go for another Body Slam that hopefully gets the paralysis again? No? Well, I figure maybe I can get lucky with an Air Slash miss or something, so I start spamming Synthesis. But all of Charizard's attacks connect, including a Fire Fang that causes a burn. Awesome. Someone's gotta die. And that someone is Mr. Wazowski. Sorry, King. With that, Elphaba comes in, using her psychic powers to bludgeon the lizard, though we will need at least 2 hit. Nope, okay, a critical hit means that Mike died for nothing, but that right there is the Pokemon League defeated with only the greenest of the green. Even in death, Little Plankton has made it to the Hall of Fame. I'll never forget you, my friend. Now, since this is HeartGold, we got a whole ass other region to explore before calling it a day, and that includes 8 more gym leaders, though a majority of them, as is often the case, are just sweeps. Elphaba rips through Janine by using Psychic, Surge is a Luigi Stallfest, Brock is a Luigi Murderfest, Misty is a little more fun since it marks the triumphant return of Poison Ivy, who Leaf Storms her chunky Lapra, Gamora literally shreds Sabrina's entire team to pieces, Poison Ivy clutches up against Erica, and Piccolo is a Surf Spammin' Wrecking Ball against Blaine, so suddenly, all that remains is Blue. And I'll be honest, I thought this would go like all of those other gyms did. Gamora starts by U-turning Exeggutor to get a free switch into Elphaba, who baits a Rhydon switch in on Blue's side. This is important because I taught my birdie Giga Drain, which of course gets the clean KO. You'll also notice that Elphaba is once again burned, which is seemingly my go-to answer for dealing with Gyarados, and now since he's doing basically no damage, there's nothing Blue can do as Psychic after Psychic eventually gets the KO. Machamp's fourth, so Elphaba chains another KO with another Psychic, which means that we're now facing off against Blue's penultimate Pokemon, the almighty Arcanine. And this is where things get muddy, because as I send in Piccolo on a Flare Blitz, we get burned. That wouldn't be such a big deal if it weren't for the fact that A, our Surf isn't quite an OHKO, and B, Blue has several full restores to get back to full HP. It's not a problem the first time he heals, since I can bring our foe back into the red with another Surf. But because of the consistent burn chip, I now have to switch Piccolo out as Blue heals again. Staring down a fully healthy 555 base stat total Flare Blitzing Fire type with a team full of bugs and weeds was not what I had planned coming into this fight. But here I am, so how do I get out? Well, first we have to ensure that Luigi can survive a Flare Blitz, so I go for a speedy Growl to drop our assailant's attack. Flare Blitz lands, and it ain't pretty, but if my starter can dodge a few critical hits here, we can absolutely get out of this. Luigi uses Synthesis like a madman, chugging that good old sunlight as Arcanine slowly drains his own HP in recoil. Every passing moment could be Luigi's last, but after just a few turns, Blue has Flare Blitzed himself into range of an Earthquake. So somehow Luigi survives and has defeated the sole Pokemon on Blue's team that can do super effective damage to our bug and grass types. Yeah, Pidgeot's obviously a pretty big threat here, though a Cova Berry helps Luigi get back to full HP with 2 Synthesis, as Blue goes for a Whirlwind that blows Gamora onto the field. But that's totally fine, because she too has a Cova Berry to ensure we tank a couple hits. Gamora's Aerial Ace does a good bit of damage to the Pigeon, but then he retaliates. Fun fact, if you bring a Resist Berry and then get crit on the turn that you eat it, it's like you never brought the berry at all. But hey, a critical hit without the berry would have killed me. U-turning does a solid bit of damage, and Luigi even manages to switch in on an Air/Miss, though it means very little as the damage from our magical leaves is minimal at best. After a few though, Pidgeot is in range to a Psychic from Elphaba, who should be able to survive an Air Slash. But Pidgeot uses Return, so Elphaba pays her final dues and falls for good. At the very least, Piccolo gets the revenge knockout, but it hurts to lose one of the few non-grass type Pokemon we have left. You will be mourned, Elphaba, and you will be missed. Man, I didn't want to do this, but Blue really forced my hand, so with the full power of 1 Ball HG, Reptar the Larvitar joins the team, steps away from our final showdown against Red. 2 swift evolutions later, and Tyranitar becomes the 6th man of our final squad. So now the entire run comes down to one last fight. Show me your worst, Red. Okay, I didn't mean your literal worst. Get that pipsqueak out of here. Ah, yes, Charizard. We meet again. Something tells me that this matchup is gonna go a wee bit better than the last one, as Reptar comes in, sets up her Sandstorm, and buries the lizard with a Choice Scarf Rock Slide. Blastoise joins the fight third, which is the perfect opportunity for me to send in Luigi. Soaking up a Focus Blast on the switch and a Blizzard with the help of a Yachi Berry, Luigi rips 2 sets of Magical Leafs to take out the turtle and bait in Lapra. And even though the Leviathan is a water type, our best answer against him is Reptar, since she can rip powerful, super effective rock slides and comfortably tank hits thanks to the special defense boost from her Sandstorm. A rock slide miss as Red burns through full restores would be pretty bad, but no misses occur, and eventually our foe is down to his final 2 Pokemon. Against Venusaur, we play this fun little game where he tries to put my entire team to sleep, but by swapping between Piccolo and Gamora using U-turn for consistent damage, we eventually come in on a Frenzy Plant, so I take advantage of the recharge turn to go for a Roost, and then Gamora dices up Venusaur with a final Aerial Ace. Making his last stand, Red sends out his bulky Snorlax. X-Scissor chops a bit off the bear, and then his Blizzard strikes pretty hard right back. U-turn brings in Reptar, who dodges the next Blizzard on the switch. And from here, our newest teammate crunches and crunches and crunches until Snorlax finally falls, definitively winning us not just the battle against Red, but the entire run. As always, thank you all so much for watching. This was a really fun challenge that had some surprisingly tough difficulty spikes. If you liked seeing these color locks, then be sure to go and hype this video, which is a thing now, I guess. You should also consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. Or don't, I don't know. But stay tuned for more Nuzlocke content, and until then, remember to always, always, always play around the critical hit.